Welcome back, mate. We got some more beautiful chess puzzles where we're learning all the checkmate patterns from the Chess 5344 Problems, Combinations, and Games book by Laszlo Polgar. There's a link down in the description if you want to get the book. Best value chess book I've ever bought in my life. I've been using it for over 2 years now, as well as making this giant free chess series on it, because why not share my knowledge of what I've learned so far? Fifth time through solving on the best section I found. As always, you get 30 seconds to try and solve each puzzle, and then I'll do a detailed analysis and mention the names of the checkmate patterns. We're starting with puzzle 699. Your time starts now. We're going to start off with our hookmate theme that we've learned. Knight's going fishing, catching the king as bait, but we're on the side. After threatening this checkmate, that forces the king to take. And we can come on over here. We've got two checkmate patterns here, actually. So this is an epaulette mate, king's crown, and his shoulder pad epaulettes. As well as you'll notice we have our swallowtails checkmate here as well. Two checkmate patterns in one. Very nice. 700. Oh, nice. We position the king by sacrificing the rook down into our swallowtails checkmate because it looks like a swallow's tail. 701. We got two checkmate patterns here. We can sacrifice the rook here. Pawn is pinned, so it can't take the rook. So either the knight or king has to take. They're the two lines we need to calculate. If the knight takes, we've opened up the diagonal here for the queen to come on in for our epaulette mate. If the king takes, we've led him down into our swallowtails checkmate. 702. Interesting. We've got our opera mate theme here. Problem is that the knight is stopping us. He is also stopping us from checking on this square. We just need to get the order correct. The correct order is to play the opera mate, because after the knight takes, we've manufactured an epaulette mate here, so the rook can come over, defended by the bishop. Of course, you can't do it the other way around, because after the knight takes, now our bishop is blocked, and it's not defending the rook, they're just going to take it. So that's why we got the order correct, playing that one first. 703. We're eyeing up this combination here, but if you give the check with the queen, king's going to run away and he's going to find safety eventually. We're not going to get checkmate in two there. Instead, we need to force the king into a checkmate pattern that we've seen before. Rook takes on g7. If the king takes, we can come up here, defended by the bishop, and we've manufactured a swallowtails checkmate here. The pawn's support. If he steps to the side, we can come in with the queen here, delivering the checkmate. 704. Very creative, this one. If you look at the king, we are threatening to play sort of like a dovetail checkmate here. Problem is, he steps to the side. If we do it the other way, same exact things happen. Dovetail pattern here, but he steps to the other side. How do we fix this? We can actually sacrifice the rook here. It's just stunning because if the pawn takes, we can now come in this way. We've opened up the scope of our queen. So now the king can no longer run. We've got a dovetail mate here. Of course, if the bishop takes, same exact thing, but on the other side. He can also take with the king, but then we've got our backup swallowtails checkmate here. It's awesome how these all tie in together. 705. I'm seeing a swallowtails checkmate pattern here, but we need the king to be in the place of the bishop, so we sacrifice the rook. If the king takes, then we have our swallowtail mate this way, like so. If he runs away, then we're just coming in with the queen for checkmate here. 706. We have another opera mate and epaulette mate combo. We threaten the opera mate here, famous from the Paul Morphy game, forcing the knight to take, and then we've manufactured an epaulette mate here, so we can come in defended by the bishop for checkmate there. 707. Well done if you got this within 30 seconds. That's not easy because the move is rook to f4. I find these moves a bit harder to find. The reason why is it's not a check. So you calculate all the checks first, which is what you're supposed to do. That's the correct order of thinking to save you time. But why this move? Well, we're threatening a few different checkmates, but let's go through it one by one. If the king takes, that's the first thing to look at. We've led him into a swallowtails checkmate, defended by the bishop, of course. If the queen takes, well, we've deflected the checkmate defender over here, so we can play our swallowtail mate on this side. Lastly, if they don't take the rook and they play just some sort of random defensive move, we actually come down here, and this is what we call a triangle mate, where the queen and the rook team up like this, checkmating the king. Let me know how many of you got that one. 707 that was. 708. We threaten checkmate two ways here with the queen and the rook. This rook is stopping both of us. This is the checkmate defender. We gotta get rid of him, but which one should we do? If you take with the queen first and the rook takes, after the rook takes up here, defended by our knight, they can escape. That's why it works the other way around. You take with the rook, king cannot take because it's defended by the knight. Rook's gotta take there. We've deflected him away, so we can come in for a queen and helper mate. 709. We've got the king boxed here in the corner. The king's doing a good job restricting. We'd love to play our knight here for checkmate. Problem is the pawn stopping us. This is the checkmate defender. We need to remove him ahead of time by playing rook to h6. That would be checkmate, so the rook has to take. We've deflected the pawn. Now we can come in with the knight. No pawn can take us anymore. Checkmate in the corner. 710. I can see two checkmates here. We got our hook mate here. Problem is that the knight takes. We also have a check over here. Problem is the knight takes. So he's the problem in both scenarios. We can play rook to d4 here. That's a hook mate. Knight's going fishing, catching the king as bait, forcing the knight to take. We've removed the checkmate defender over here, so our knight can come in for checkmate, remembering the pawn's going this way. If you're wondering why it doesn't work the other way around, knight here first, after the knight takes, we can't play rook here anymore, right? Because our knight was the one that was creating the hookmate pattern, so they're just going to take our rook. 711. Trying to trick our pattern recognition. You might have seen that we have a hookmate here. Threat. Forcing the king to take our knight. But the problem in that situation is that you don't have a checkmate on the next move. That's when you identify a second pattern here. If the king is where the knight is, that's a dovetail checkmate if our queen appears on this square. How do we make this happen? Instead of checking over here with the queen, we can play queen to f8 check. King can't go up because the knight, so it's got to accept our sacrifice. And now we can just slide on down for our simple dovetail checkmate. 712. Really nice pattern, this one. We actually move closer to the king here, supported by the knights, which gives the king two options. It can take either knight is the only squares it can go to. So one by one, if the king takes this knight, it's not clear immediately how we checkmate because our queen can't give checks anywhere. But it's actually the knight that's the hero of this story. He comes and gives a check on e7, also taking away where the king can run to, and the queen's restricting everywhere else. If he takes our other knight, exact same situation, the queen's doing a good job, the king's helping out restrict over here as well. So we can just follow up with our knight, taking away the only other runaway square he can go, and giving the check here. I hope some of you are starting to notice these checkmate patterns a bit more intuitively, improving your chess. If you've got any mates who are trying to improve at chess, please share this video with them. I'll see you next week.